So, February album writing month has started, and I decided to try and document my process once again. Last time I tried it, I believe it was 2 years ago, I recorded almost every session, which resulted in me having to switch devices because the batteries kept dying on me, and I also had countless gigabytes of footage to sort through, which was a massive pain. This year, I decided to approach it from somewhat of an opposite angle and record smaller clips of my sessions, and hopefully, I will be able to make it into an enjoyable and coherent video. So, without diving any deeper into all the technicalities, I will let you hear what I have. So, I'm editing this video now, and I've noticed that there's a lot of footage of me playing instruments. So I decided to counterbalance that by recording some sort of post-commentary thing and explaining a little bit about my process and what was going on behind the scenes. So I'm going to do exactly that. First thing that you will probably notice is the fact that I don't tend to stay in the loop for very long. I like to establish my idea first, and then once it's already established, I move on to writing the next part and the next part and the next part. I do that to avoid being stuck and not knowing how to progress my song, and very often I land with a big library of ideas, which a lot of them don't even make it to the final song, but also sometimes the library is so gigantic that the song turns like 13 minutes. Um, I didn't want to really write 7, 8, 10, 20-minute epics on this album because of the time constraints, but I'm pretty sure that with some songs I could drag them out quite a bit if I had the time. But that's not the point. Generally, I like to sit down and improvise, whether it's guitar, bass, keyboard, drums, whatever it is. And when I improvise, I generally stumble on some ideas, then I record them, and I use a lot of placeholders in my workflow. If I'm sure that something will stay in the track, then I record it properly. Sometimes the placeholders are good on their own, as they were recorded, but also a lot of time I will edit my performances a little bit. And I want to be open and honest about it because we live in the day and age where everybody can pretend that they're completely perfect all the time. And I'm not. Very often, if my snare is off by like 5 milliseconds, I don't care. I will just leave it as it is. Sometimes I'm fluctuating with the tempo, but that doesn't really ruin the vibe, so I leave it in as well. But sometimes I'm so off that everything feels lopsided and it doesn't make any sense, so I'll just select that part and time correct it, and that's the extent of editing of my performances that I'm doing. I'm doing that only when it ruins the vibe. If it throws me off, if I cannot stand how it sounds, then I will edit that. Other than that, I just leave it in. Probably the most prominent example of that is the song Approaching the Storm, so the second track of the album. And in that faster part, you will probably notice that I'm all over the place, but it doesn't ruin the vibe, so it is the way it is. Very often, when I'm playing and improvising, the process is not glamorous at all. So, here's some footage of me playing drums and ultimately failing at it. I'm gonna check how it sounds when I'm going to practice. Fuck. Ah, I hit myself. The idea for this album comes from the fact that lately I've been playing a lot of video games. Mostly games from the 90s and early 2000s, but also a sprinkle of modern games in there as well. One thing that all of the games that I've been playing recently have in common is the fact that they have amazing soundtracks. And I always wanted to write a soundtrack for a video game. So I decided that this year, for the February album writing month, I'm going to let loose and just let myself imagine some scenarios and amalgamations from different games that I've been playing and try to write my own score while still leaving it open to interpretation for the listener. I want to write something that gets the imagination going. So, what I imagine in my head may not be what you imagine in your head while listening to it, but also I didn't want it to be so contrived in the format of video game music that it cannot stand on its own as an album. So I'm trying to walk a pretty good balance between making music that works for the imagination and takes you on a journey like a good album will, but also something that, in the context of a video game, could be a really good piece of music. The first track was heavily inspired by the menu music from Yakuza and Like a Dragon games. Those games are generally very big and full of hype and uh, crazy set pieces and everything else. But the main thing that you will notice after opening the game is the serene ambience in the main menu. And that's something that I wanted to recreate in my own way. And while doing so, I also decided that it would be really cool if I created a continuous journey for every song. So I wanted every song to lead to the next. All right, so I have to shift gears a little bit, I think, because I realize that I'm starting to be a little bit too obsessed with nailing my parts. Since I have the big keyboard, the small keyboard, the drum set, the bass, and the guitars, I'm trying to learn new parts and I'm trying to nail them as I go. And I think that really gets in the way of me composing this album because I'm just simply not that good. And I need to write the part, learn the part, record the part to the point where I'm satisfied. And I think I would benefit more from just approaching it from the composer sort of mindset and just maybe write some MIDI and feed it into the synthesizer rather than trying to nail it. So That's one thing. The other thing is that my songs are getting more ambitious in scope. The first one was ambient ish, so it was easy enough, it's very flowy, it almost wrote itself. Then the second tune started being a little bit more ambitious, and the third tune is a little bit more ambitious, and now I'm finding myself just playing the keyboard and trying to outdo myself constantly. And I think that I should just focus on a simpler core idea and then compose a few parts and move on rather than trying to make it bigger and better and have it evolving all this time. So that's my biggest challenge right now is just trying to nail the parts and trying to make everything seem big and bombastic. Funnily enough, when I just sit down during my break and start a video game, I hear the music, and the music is very simple. It has like maybe 4 or 5 elements, and they all work together, and it has maybe like 3 variations on each theme, and that's it. And here I am writing a very progressive, expansive sort of music. So I think I need to shift gears a little bit, and I'm a fucking hypocrite because I'm about to sit down on the keyboard and try to nail a part. Hey, look, my depression beard is gone for better or for worse. So, yesterday I was in the studio and I was working, but I was so tired and so sleep deprived that I decided to just not document anything. And during that time that I was in the studio, I almost finished the entire tune. It was mostly recording bass lines and programming drums, and then programming some MIDI and feeding it into Nautilus, as well as recording like live improvisation on the Nautilus for a few parts. Currently, I'm transitioning to the next song, and I want it to be sort of jungle PS1 era inspired thing. And I'm going to use the Digitact for it and see if I can come up with a cool idea, because it will help me generate something different than just sitting with my instruments and improvising or clicking my mouse in the DAW. So the jungle tune, it didn't work out at all. First and foremost, I had a very big issue with synchronizing the Digitact to my DAW. And I don't know what was the cause. If it was the plug-in delay compensation, if it was the buffer size of my audio interface, was it something in the Digitact? Was it just bad day because my laptop is pretty underpowered? I have no idea. And because I don't really have a lot of footage from trying to work on that song, I will show you a quick montage of me losing my sanity and getting progressively more annoyed. It's very quiet, and I'm trying to figure out why that is. And it doesn't really. And I think it doesn't really want to synchronize that well. Let me go to the settings on the Digitact. This is going to be such a mess. This is such a pain, oh my god, okay, everything falls apart. Maybe I actually should start with Overbridge and see if that will fix my issues. Problem is I don't remember how to do it, and I'm starting to feel like this was a bad idea. It doesn't synchronize very well, and I don't know why. It's starting to become quite frustrating, because if that's how it is, then this whole plan is not going to work. Alright, I gave up. This is way too much of a headache. I cannot figure it out. So, as you can see, this didn't really work out. I tried working on it for the next few days, but those few days were very weird for me. I couldn't sleep for whatever reason, which heightened my anxiety, and because of the anxiety, I couldn't really focus on working. And throughout those few days, I was in the studio, but for very short periods of time, and I wasn't really making any meaningful progress. I started feeling like I'm being stuck, like I cannot progress, and I hit a roadblock. I don't know about you, but I personally cannot write music that I don't feel in the moment. If it doesn't reflect how I feel and what I think, then it's very difficult for me to come up with parts for it. And I realized that this is what's happening with this particular tune. So I decided to shift gears and let myself write what I actually feel. And what started coming out was a lot of anxiety and a lot of nervous energy, and it got so bad that I actually got sick. I had to go and lay down, and I was completely out for the rest of the day. But the next morning, when I came into the studio and I listened to what I've made, I really liked what I was hearing, and that became the fifth track, Tower of Demise. Today I'm working on track number 6, and so far I layered a lot of drum loops from my sample pack, Trip and Chaos, and I also added a kick from the same sample pack on top of it, and I picked up my bass guitar and started playing around. I had something darker in mind, but I figured out a pretty cool funky bass line, so it's going to be another one of those. So without any more yapping, let's record some bass. Rookie mistake number 1. I started yapping and I forgot the bass line that I was about to play. So I'm going to improvise something and see where this takes me. There might be something there. I'm recording this segment to clarify a few things because I think that I didn't explain myself very well at a few points, so here I am explaining things. First and foremost, I wanted to clarify that when I said that this album is sort of like a soundtrack for a video game, or at least that's the idea behind it, I meant it, but I didn't mean it in a way that, yeah, this could be a soundtrack to a video game. I meant it more like it's inspired by video game soundtracks, and it's a strange amalgamation of games that I played recently and that have been on my mind and all that sort of stuff. Because for me, it's very difficult to score something that I don't have right in front of me. For example, if I was making a music for a video game, it would be much more coherent because then I would know the story and the concept of it, and maybe a little bit about the graphics and the direction and where I should take the music. But when I'm just thinking about the games that I played and that left an impression on me, and the soundtracks that I really like to come back to, and then I write music, then it's a strange amalgamation of like 15 things that are not necessarily related to each other. All right, so another thing is that I don't really know why I'm recording this documentary. I don't really know what it's supposed to be. I think I want it to be more like a look behind the scenes rather than being more educational. I know that some people might come into this video thinking and hoping that they will learn something new from it. Meanwhile, all they will see is just me playing instruments and getting progressively more autistic because I'm learning from my resources. But yeah, it's much easier for me to record projects that are on a smaller scope when I record for a day or two. And maybe I have 3 hours of footage to dig through rather than something that lasts way longer. And then I have to figure out what's important to record and what isn't. And I don't have the blueprint. I don't really know what I'm doing, to be honest. And I just really like to come in here and make music. And the angle I'm trying to take very often is just to inspire people because I'm not the most knowledgeable on the technical level. I'm still learning new things and I'm still listening to my old mixes and scratching my head, being like, why did I do this? So yeah, I will try to focus on smaller projects from now on because it's way easier for me to dig through like 2 or 3 hours of footage, and the footage is coherent and consistent because I was filming on a day where I felt like filming and I had a particular idea in mind, and then it makes more sense. And I think that what I should focus on is just figuring out why I'm even doing this. Because, yeah, like many of us, I would like to have a music career. I would like to make money off of it. And if I could just get paid for going into the studio and making whatever music I feel like making, I would probably not be on YouTube. But there's also some fun in making the videos. There's definitely some potential for storytelling and whatnot. It's just I'm a little bit too big of a dummy. I cannot really figure out my own niche and my own format because a lot of the channels that make music that I watch, they either had a massive budget so they can hire editors and camera people and all sorts of things. And on the other hand, it's just people just doing their thing, but they still have something that sets them apart. And to me, I don't really know what it is for me. And that's why I'm sort of struggling to find a consistent formula that doesn't drain me and that also gives you something interesting and engaging to watch, right? Because I don't know. I think that because of my communication style, making tutorials can be a little bit difficult because I never can be sure that I'm explaining things properly. Um, while on the other hand, I'm not really that good at video making, so everything is always janky and there's always some technical difficulty that I'm trying to combat either during recording or after the recording. So I don't know. I still have a lot of thinking to do, I guess. Alright, I've been yapping for a while. I don't even know if any of that was coherent. I'm just going to go back to doing the one thing I'm somewhat decent at, making music. So with that final song, I didn't really know in which direction I should take it. So as you can probably see, I tried going into more glitched out, corrupted direction with it. But I realized that this will take a lot of time and effort, which I didn't have at the time because the end of the challenge was approaching. So I decided to work on it as much as I'm able to. And for the next few days, I was really struggling and I was very unsure if it's even going to see the light of day. But on the last day, everything started falling into place, and it turned out that all the elements that needed to be there are there, and I just recorded a few more parts and I was done. So that sort of worked out in the end. Okay, so I've checked, and it turns out that I don't have any footage for intersections, so the track number 7. And if that's your favorite track, I'm really sorry. I just didn't feel like recording at that point. I don't even remember why. This tune almost wrote itself. I remember the workflow being really fast and painless. Basically, what I did was taking a kick out of one of my sample packs and then creating a sub bass in Vital, I think. And then I used Microfreak for almost every synth sound that you hear in that track. I've added a lot of MIDI, recorded longer performances, and then just faded in and out between them, wrote some parts, and that's basically how it happened. If you're interested which engines I used on the Microfreak for the squelches, I definitely used the wavetable user. So I loaded some of the wavetables that I've made ages ago and just used those for those squelchy synths. For the rest of it, I don't remember. If I power on my Microfreak before this video goes out, I will put it on the screen, what other engines did I use. So if that's your favorite track, I'm sorry, but that brings me to the point that if you have a favorite on the album and you would like to see me write another track in the same vein, but explain a little bit more of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, you could leave it in the comments and I will consider recording a more in-depth video because, as mentioned before, it's way easier for me to record videos where it's one focused idea when I feel like filming rather than trying to capture the magic during a whole month. So if you have any favorites, leave them in the comments. I will see if I can figure out how to structure a video around it. So I don't want to waste any more of your precious time. If you liked this video, consider leaving me a like, subscribing. I have a Patreon page, which you can consider as a monthly tip jar. If you would like to make a one-time donation, you can buy me a coffee over on my Ko-fi page. And the album is out on Bandcamp if you would like to own it. And yeah, I think that's it. I hope that you're doing well. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Take care.